Good morning, America. For our viewers in the West, the White House making new claims about autism and Tylenol, Michael's one-on-one with Coach Prime, and the emotional Dawson's Creek reunion. This morning, major medical groups with a strong response to the White House's announcement, tying women using Tylenol during pregnancy to an increased risk of autism. Our Chief Medical Correspondent, Dr. Narula, breaks down what parents should know about using the common painkiller during pregnancy.
Jimmy Kimmel back on the air tonight, nearly a week after his suspension, sparked a debate over President Trump's threats to free speech. Plot foiled. The Secret Service believes it disrupted a plan that could have collapsed the entire telecommunications system in New York City. What they found in apartments around the city, who they think is behind it.
Former Vice President Kamala Harris is here live, talking about her 107 days running for president in 2024.
Sparks flying from a passenger plane shortly after takeoff. The investigation right now.
ABC News exclusive. One-on-one with Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, in his first television interview about his fight with an aggressive form of bladder cancer.
That was the most excruciating pain I've ever felt in my life. I remember just on the ground in the bathroom, and I'm just screaming because it was so much pain. I'm like, you got to be kidding.
Raw and emotional about the surgery he went through.
Did you regret your decision?
How it's changed him in the way he coaches and what he wants others to know.
But you can overcome it. We can do this.
Only on GMA.
A reunion more than 20 years in the making. The cast of Dawson's Creek back together again overnight, but without Dawson, James Vanderbeek.
One of the best fans in the world.
This morning, the superstar who stepped in. Plus, James's message, almost a year after announcing his stage 3 cancer diagnosis, and the emotional moments on stage, all for a good cause. And look who it is, Jason Kelce not throwing away his shot on Monday night as the Lions roar to victory.
They pitch to Gibbs. Touchdown!
Live from ABC News headquarters in New York City, it's Tuesday. Good morning, America.
It was supposed to be a chin strap, but it was in a different location for it. But we'll get to that. Busy morning.
It is a busy morning, including President Trump set to address the United Nations later this morning. We're holding meetings on the wars in Ukraine and Gaza. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is going to join us live in our next hour.
But we're going to begin with the medical groups pushing back on the Trump administration, claiming the use of Tylenol during pregnancy may be linked to an increased risk of autism. Here are the experts and organizations as of right now that are coming out against the administration's guidance. Our Chief Medical Correspondent, Dr. Narula, is standing by for us. But first, Senior National Correspondent Steve Osunsami has the latest. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning to you, Michael. With this announcement, the president is now widening the gap between established science and what the White House is telling pregnant women. The FDA is now planning on adding a warning to bottles of Tylenol, and they're telling doctors to warn pregnant mothers.
Don't take Tylenol. Don't take it. If you just can't, it's just fight like hell not to take it.
There's a strong response this morning from major medical groups that are taking issue with the White House's announcement tying autism to women using Tylenol during pregnancy.
First, effective immediately, the FDA will be notifying physicians that the use of acetaminophen, is that okay? Which is basically commonly known as Tylenol, during pregnancy can be associated with a very increased risk of autism. So taking Tylenol is not good.
President Trump's messaging came with his health secretary, RFK Jr., by his side, who has long shared provably wrong theories about what causes autism.
They are strongly recommending that women limit Tylenol use during pregnancy unless medically necessary. That's, for instance, in cases of extremely high fever, that you feel you can't tough it out, you can't do it. I guess there's that. It's a small number of cases, I think.
This morning, major medical organizations are disagreeing with the president, saying that acetaminophen is safe for pregnant women and that the drug is important because untreated fevers can end pregnancies. The makers of Tylenol say that sound science clearly shows that taking acetaminophen does not cause autism. The president also claims that ingredients in vaccines and the close timing of childhood vaccinations could also be contributing to rising autism cases. The FDA commissioner standing by the White House's claims on Tylenol.
Acetaminophen has been given willy-nilly way too frequently without any discussion of the potential risks to balance out those discussions about the potential benefit.
But medical groups say that there have been dozens of large studies over the decades, and not one of them found that acetaminophen or vaccines cause autism.
There was a study that was done in Sweden where they looked over a 25-year period at 2.5 million children to see whether or not Tylenol taken during pregnancy increased the risk of autism. And it didn't. And more importantly, they did it the right way because they did the so-called sibling control. So they looked at mothers who took Tylenol during one pregnancy but not another. So you could compare those two pregnancies. And again, it found that there was no relationship between taking Tylenol and developing autism.
Dr. Edith Bracho Sanchez is a New York pediatrician who is pregnant with her second child and shares that she's still taking the drug herself.
Uncontrolled fevers in pregnancy pose an increased risk of miscarriage, of neural developmental defects. Knowing what I know about the risks of Tylenol in pregnancy versus the risks of an uncontrolled fever, I would take Tylenol again in this pregnancy.
The stock price of Tylenol fell dramatically because all of this. And Tylenol is a very important drug for pregnant women because they're told that they shouldn't be using that other popular painkiller, ibuprofen, because that one for certain increases the risk of miscarriage. Guys?
That we know. All right, Steve, thank you. We're going to bring in ABC News Chief Medical Correspondent Dr. Narula. So can you just help us have a better understanding of this?
All right, so there's a few things to cover here. First of all, autism, there is not one single cause for autism. We know that it is a complex disorder characterized by hundreds of genes, different environmental influences, and part of the reason, Robin, why we have seen these rising numbers that President Trump alluded to is because we are screening more, is because we've changed the diagnostic criteria. It's important to look for environmental influences, and researchers have tried to look back over the last decade to see, is there an association between Tylenol and neurodevelopmental disorders? The research has come down on both sides. There is research, as you heard in the piece, from Sweden. That was the largest study that shows there was not an association. And there are other studies that do the same. There was just a research study a few months ago out of Mount Sinai and Harvard that did show there was an association. And so really the research at this point is inconclusive. That's one thing. The second thing is that association is not causation. That's a really important point. So when we look at an association, it could be that the women who took Tylenol, the reason we saw that link, so to speak, was not because of the Tylenol. It was because of the fever that they took the Tylenol for, or the chronic pain condition, or the infection, or maybe they were taking some other medication. It's very hard to tease that out. So really important. But there is a biology there that does make sense. We know Tylenol crosses the placenta. It can cause stress on cells. It can disrupt hormones. Sure. So there is a plausible explanation as well.
So
on the other side.
if you are pregnant, what do you do at this point? And if you're unsure, is there an alternative to treating pain or fever?
Right. So this is a very nuanced discussion. It's not as simple as don't take Tylenol, I think, as we heard the president say. And women really should be speaking to their doctors at this point about making an informed, individualized decision. And really, like any medication, it comes down to weighing the risks and the benefits. So for some women, it may be, I don't want to take it if I have a headache, or maybe I want to take the lowest dose for the shortest time. And some women may not change their practice. It is important to point out that groups like American College of OBGYNs and Maternal Society of Fetal Medicine still support Tylenol as safe. And contrary to what the president said, there is a downside to not treating fever and pain in pregnancy, which is preterm birth, birth defects, miscarriage, maternal anxiety and depression, and high blood pressure.
The administration has also announced that it's starting an approval process for this drug called leucovorin.
Right.
Tell us about that.
Leucovorin is a currently used drug. It's a derivative of vitamin B9 or folate that we use to treat the side effects of chemotherapy. We know that it's important in some cases for certain types of autism. We have seen benefits in terms of getting folate into the brain. So for certain kids with ASD, it may be beneficial. It's It's not a cure. It's not for every person with autism.
Dr. Narula, thanks very much. Turning now to Jimmy Kimmel. He's set to return to television tonight. Our parent company, Disney, suspended the late-night host a week ago after the FCC threatened Disney over comments Kimmel made on his show. That sparked an intense debate over the Trump administration's threats to free speech. Elizabeth Schultz is here with the story. Good morning, Elizabeth.
Hey, good morning, George. Jimmy Kimmel will be back on the air tonight. Our parent company, Disney, says this decision comes after thoughtful conversations with Kimmel in the wake of his comments about Charlie Kirk's killing. This morning, after nearly a week off the air, Jimmy Kimmel Live is set to return to late-night TV. Disney saying in a statement, "Last Wednesday, we made the decision to suspend production on the show to avoid further inflaming a tense situation at an emotional moment for our country. It is a decision we made because we felt some of the comments were ill-timed and thus insensitive. We have spent the last days having thoughtful conversations with Jimmy, and after those conversations, we reached the decision to return the show on Tuesday." The show was paused indefinitely amid apparent threats from the Trump administration, following Kimmel's comments last Monday about the ideology of the alleged shooter in Charlie Kirk's murder.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
Last Wednesday, Federal Communications Commission Chairman Brendan Carr, who was appointed by President Trump, seemed to threaten to take action against broadcasters that aired Kimmel's show.
I mean, look, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. These companies can find ways to change conduct, to take action, frankly, on Kimmel, or, there's going to be additional work for the FCC ahead.
Two of the biggest owners of network TV affiliates, Nexstar and Sinclair, said they wouldn't air the show. Then ABC suspended it indefinitely. President Trump praised Kimmel's suspension, even calling for NBC's late-night hosts to go. And despite his pledge on day one in office to protect free speech, Trump suggested TV outlets that are repeatedly critical of him should lose their broadcast licenses, a move that could take them off the air.
They give me only bad publicity or press. I mean, they're getting a license. I would think maybe their license should be taken away. It will be up to Brendan Carr.
The apparent threats from the FCC and ABC's decision to temporarily suspend Kimmel sparked a fierce national debate about free speech. Republican Senator Ted Cruz warning about censorship.
I think it is unbelievably dangerous for government to put itself in the position of saying, we're going to decide what speech we like and what we don't, and we're going to threaten to take you off air if we don't like what you're saying.
Kimmel has still not publicly commented ahead of the show tonight, and no word yet, guys, on who his guests will be.
A lot of people will be watching tonight. Thanks, Elizabeth.
All right, thank you. We're going to turn now to the United Nations Summit here in New York, and President Trump is set to address the General Assembly later today as more U.S. allies are announcing their support for Palestinian statehood. Our senior political correspondent, Rachel Scott, is at the UN with the latest for us. Good morning, Rachel.
Hey, Michael, good morning to you. And President Trump will be back on the world stage today as he prepares to address the United Nations General Assembly for the first time in his second term. About 150 heads of state will be gathered here in New York this week for the UN, and taking center stage, of course, the war between Russia and Ukraine, the conflict between Israel and Gaza. The president will be isolated from more than half of member nations, with support growing for Palestinian statehood. France, the latest country now to recognize the state of Palestine. The White House calling it a reward to Hamas. The president has been focused on trying to get ceasefire agreements between Ukraine and Russia, Israel and Gaza, but so far he has come up short. That will certainly be much of the focus in many of the conversations he'll be having on the sidelines of the UN today, meeting with Ukrainian President Zelensky, the head of the EU, also officials from Egypt, Jordan and Qatar. The White House says the president plans to focus on renewal of American strength and also plans to insist in his remarks today that global institutions have decayed world order, but certainly a lot of division between the United States and our closest allies. Michael.
Yeah, going to be a lot of eyes and ears on what the president has to say to the United Nations there, Rachel. Thank you. We're going to have much more on the president at the United Nations in our next hour. Secretary of State Marco Rubio will join us live. Robin?
All right, Michael. And with many world leaders here in New York City for the UN Assembly, now the Secret Service says it believes it foiled a plot that could have crippled the city's telecommunications system. Chief Investigative Correspondent Aaron Katersky is here with those details. Good morning, Aaron.
Good morning, Robin. At first, the Secret Service thought it was investigating a typical threat to someone the agency protects. What agents said they uncovered may not look like much, but they believe it could have disabled every cellular tower here in New York City.
This morning, the U.S. Secret Service believes it disrupted a plot that could have collapsed the entire telecommunications system in New York City. And law enforcement sources tell ABC News it's believed to be connected to the Chinese government. Officials say several individuals, including at least one with direct access to the president, began receiving threats this spring. In recent weeks, investigators tracked those threats to multiple locations in and around New York, where they said they seized hundreds of servers and more than 100,000 SIM cards. Enough equipment to send 30 million anonymous text messages every minute. Overwhelming communications.
They found empty apartments with servers and server walls capable of making millions and millions of phone calls in and around New York City and the world that could potentially cripple New York City and other parts of the world.
There are no arrests yet. The apartments where the equipment was found were empty. Investigators suspect the alleged plot is the work of a well-organized and well-funded group that law enforcement sources say is believed to be linked to China.
Now, the Secret Service is still working to determine what all the equipment was meant to do and whether there was a specific target. But as one official put it, guys, the potential for disruption to the country's telecommunications posed by this network of devices cannot be overstated. Guys.
No question about that. Thank you, Aaron. We turn now to Monday Night Football. We got our sports team here.
Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun.
Is that our new stage?
I don't know.
We're working on it. The Lara and Sam Sports Show.
All right.
Begins now, everybody. And last night it was a heavyweight matchup, a thriller at that for two Super Bowl hopefuls, the Lions and the Ravens, playing in Baltimore, but no home team advantage.
Oh.
It was a close game, but there was just no stopping the Lions' running game with 4 rushing touchdowns, including a trick play to get Jahmyr Gibbs into the end zone, and Detroit's defense did their part, sacking Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson not once, not twice, but 7 times.
Ooh. Wow.
Baltimore did score a late touchdown, but their onside kick came up short, and Detroit held on for the 38-30 victory. And Sam, I throw the ball to you.
Oh, Lara, that was great sports. But now over to the entertainment portion. Please welcome the class of 2006 Cleveland Heights High School baritone sax player Jason Kelsey, who was looking pretty good in Baltimore purple last night, playing the saxophone. The Monday Night Countdown commentator suited up in a full marching Raven band uniform during the pregame warm-ups. And although it looked like he had a little trouble with the chin strap, see, Jason, everybody else wears it under the chin, just the name chin strap.
I don't think it fit.
He wore it under the nose. He played the team's fight song and the countdown theme song. Kelsey got a big cheer from brother Travis, who commented that he was killing it. Travis also said some things that we couldn't air. He had to bleep it out, how good it was. He made his mark as a Philadelphia Eagle center, but he also played a jazz band in high school and has even said he thinks that jazz helped him excel in sports.
I bet it did.
Yeah, teach him how to breathe. All right. We have my exclusive with Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, in a raw first television interview on his fight with an aggressive form of bladder cancer. Well, he shared his message for others.
And Lara, the wait is over for a Dawson's Creek reunion.
Yes, indeed, Robin. The show ended its run more than 2 decades ago. Last night, fans got their wish for a full cast script read, but last minute, Dawson himself had to pull out. James Vanderbeek sent his love and a pretty good stand-in to read his part. We will have the full story coming up.
A lot more coming up. We'll be right back.
Back here on GMA, that memorable theme song. And the cast of Dawson's Creek sang it when they reunited overnight. A reunion more than 20 years in the making, but without Dawson. James Vanderbeek. This morning, we're going to show you his moving message as a superstar who stepped in.
We are looking forward to that. First new at 7:30, FAA is investigating what led to sparks flying from this plane's engine shortly after takeoff. The Delta Boeing 737 took off from Atlanta Sunday night, headed for Sacramento. It landed safely back at Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. Delta apologized to customers for the delay in their travels due to the mechanical issue. Also, new details on the animal handler who was killed when a tiger attacked him during a show. 37-year-old Ryan Easley was just finishing up the show at a family-run preserve in Oklahoma when the tiger bit his neck. Easley had raised the tiger since it was a cub Easily bought some of his tigers from Joe Exotic from the docuseries Tiger King.
And it was a sad situation there. And a big donation for an important cause overnight. Mackenzie Scott donating $70 million to the UNCF. The billionaire philanthropist giving historically black colleges and universities a huge boost. And as someone who went to an HBCU, thank you very much. It really does make a big difference.
She has done incredible work with her
really
fortune, no question about it. And Mike, you have this exclusive interview now with your friend Deion Sanders.
Yeah, my guy Deion. And I've known Deion for years, you guys. But I don't think many of us have ever seen him like this. He didn't hold back about what he's going through, and he's sharing his message with a purpose.
Nice. You always look nice.
On a sunny September day, I met up with one of my oldest buddies, two-time Super Bowl champion and head coach of the Colorado Buffaloes, Deion Sanders. I look good, too. I look good.
Not when you was...
I was a little heavier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember.
I remember that.
They make a new bladder.
But we're here today to talk about something more serious. Deion's recent battle with bladder cancer. We're going to talk about some of the things you've been going through, not just to talk about you, because I know that you're doing this because you are helping other people. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. And I'm thankful that we're doing this because we can help a multitude of people.
This past spring, doctors discovered a tumor in Deion's bladder doing a routine CAT scan for his blood clotting issues. And how did you feel when you walked in that day? Did you have any symptoms of anything?
You're irritated because, men, we don't want to go to the doctor. We don't want to go to the doctor. And we like, why? Man, I got to go to the doctor. So you got to go get your normal scan. And they said, hold on, we need to do another little check on you. And for what? I'm straight. I feel good.
So did they tell you that day, or did some time pass when they called you back?
No, they told me they found something and they need to bring me back to do like a surgery to make sure this was what it was.
Did you think it was cancer? Is that what they told you?
Yeah, no, they knew.
Further testing confirmed that he had a high-risk type of non-muscle invasive bladder cancer, an aggressive form of cancer with a 50% recurrence rate. His doctors laid out his treatment options: undergo chemotherapy for 36 weeks or have his bladder removed. You wrote, quote, "These options scared me to death." Chemo was one option.
Yeah.
Surgery was another.
Yeah, the surgery to aggressively try to go get it all, like right now.
Only a week and 2 days after being diagnosed, Sanders underwent bladder removal surgery. Doctors then rebuilt his bladder using part of his intestine. What made you choose the option that you did?
I prayed on it, and I'm aggressive, man. I ain't waiting. I ain't sitting back on the curb waiting. Just slowly but surely you do whatever is gonna happen. No, let's go right now. Let's go get this thing.
What was the recovery from that like?
It was tough. So I remember laying there and they said, well, you need to go try to pee. That was the most excruciating pain I've ever felt in my life. I remember just on the ground in the bathroom and I'm just screaming because it was so much pain. I'm like, you got to be kidding. So I'm laying on the bed in the fetal position. Once I got off the floor, I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Did you regret your decision?
No, because that was the first process. That wasn't the big surgery. That was the first process. Then the second surgery, oh no, it seemed like they took everything out.
How has the surgery, how has it restricted your day-to-day lifestyle?
Not really, just when I gotta pee, man.
So that's been the biggest adjustment.
Yeah, it's not that you can just stand up in front of the toilet and you just pee. You gotta like push through your abs and everything and just push it down and try to force it out.
It's something to hear this, and I know a lot of people may go, oh man, I can't believe you're talking about that.
That's real.
But that's the point, because it's real,
right.
But it's a way in which you put your prime spin on it.
True, because I'm honest, man. And you know how many people are going through this foolishness, but men never talk about stuff like this. We hide it because we want to be big and strong and massive and not vulnerable. No, man, this is real. This is what I'm dealing with.
Is there a time in which did the doctors say and that you could get back to normal? Or is this something for the rest of your life that you'll have to deal with?
I really think it, because I'm not getting any better. I mean, some nights I go through 2 pair of Depends a night. Like, some nights are bad. Thank God that I depend on Depends. Thank God.
You depend on Depends.
It seems like a cliche.
Yeah.
But it's the truth.
What happened mentally, though? Here you are, prime time, Deion Sanders, man. All of a sudden now, you're human in a lot of ways. Right. You have to share these struggles with people.
Got to.
How is that mentally for you?
It's not tough for me because I've always been an honest man and a person who always confronted my limitations. The cancer could have taken me out, but I'm here.
You got it.
We may smell like smoke, but we ain't in the fire. We could do this. Do not use your hands, use your feet. Get there with your feet.
Well, have they changed the way that you coach?
I think I'm tougher.
Really?
Yeah, because coach has been on the bed looking up. Didn't know if I was gonna still be here. And you tripping because you missed a tackle or missed a sack or missed a pass that didn't make the right read. No. Ain't got time for that. Let's go.
Now cancer-free, Coach Prime is back on the field with renewed purpose. What is your message? What is the takeaway you want people out there to understand?
The Bible clearly depicts it. In this world, we're gonna have tribulation. What does that mean for you? And how are you gonna overcome it? I choose to rise up, man, not to stay down. I choose to share. And I want everybody to understand, you can make it, man. We all got something we fight. Who out there right now ain't fighting something?
Yeah.
It may not be cancer, but it's something. But you can overcome it. We can do this.
What a great message. He always puts his spin. I depend on depends. He finds a way to always bring a little humor into it. But he really is going through something here, and I love that he's sharing his message because, like he said, everybody's going through something.
Everybody's got something.
And he lets you know you always got a chance to keep on fighting.
I was a young sports reporter in the late 80s when he was drafted by the Falcons.
Oh, he talked about you. He loves you.
No, I'm not
Loves
telling you, I've never been prouder of him. For him to say what he said on national television
cannot be easy.
Cannot be easy, but he knows it's going to help people, and that's pride.
Well, he thinks the world of you.
Yeah, it's back at it. Back now with the highly anticipated Dawson's Creek reunion overnight for a good cause. Unfortunately, Dawson himself, James Vanderbeek, had to miss it, and Lara has more on the event. And we all remember when James joined us in the studio.
Yeah, so brave.
Oh, after he had talked about his stage 3 cancer.
Yeah, his cancer diagnosis, and Vanderbeek was not able to attend that table read, even though, as he said, it was the night he was most looking forward to. It's been 22 years since Dawson's Creek went off the air, and the popular show had never done this. They'd never had a full cast reunion until last night, and there was a superstar stand-in there for Dawson. Overnight, the wait over for fans of Dawson's Creek. The cast reunion taking place in New York City, with one notable cast member missing, Dawson himself, James Vanderbeek.
Reading the role of Dawson, a young up-and-comer, solo to Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Lin-Manuel Miranda stepping in to play Dawson after illness prevented Vanderbeek from traveling. The star posting this emotional note on Instagram. I won't get to stand on that stage and thank every soul in the theater for showing up for me and against cancer when I needed it most.
I wanted to stand on this stage and thank every single person in this theater, the best fans in the world.
The reunion was organized to benefit F Cancer and James Vanderbeek, who announced he has stage 3 colorectal cancer in November of 2024. Just a month later, the 48-year-old father of 6 came on GMA to talk about it.
It felt like a nightmare, honestly, at first, that I couldn't quite wake up from. Oh,
you
man.
had your wife, Kim. She was there. You said that she has been your rock. How has she helped you?
She's, this is where I'm going to lose it. She's been amazing. She's really taught me what unconditional love is.
Dawson's Creek premiered in 1998 and ran for 6 seasons, launching the careers of Vanderbeek, Katie Holmes, Joshua Jackson, and Michelle Williams. On Monday, the original cast doing a table read of the pilot episode, a reunion more than 20 years in the making. In his note, Vanderbeek urging his disappointed fans to still enjoy the night, ending his Instagram post with, "Everyone, please enjoy all the love in that room and shine some on my family." So open up your morning light. At the end, Vanderbeek's wife, Kim, and their children joining the cast on stage, singing along to the show's theme song. What a beautiful, emotional night. Vanderbeek also thanked Lin-Manuel for stepping in, writing, "You were a hero to my kids before. Now you're a demigod."
That was powerful.
There could not be a dry eye in that house.
Yeah.
Watching that last night.
That was really beautiful, and we are all thinking about James and just
Yes, we are.
wishing him all the best.
Yes.
We really are. Powerful, thank you. Thank you for that, Lyric.
Sam's here with the play of the day. Fat Bear Week?
Yes, George, indeed. It is Fat Bear Week. And look, I know it's morning and we don't like to talk about our weight. No one does. But wildlife biologist says a fat bear is a healthy bear. Good. And they can actually pack on 700 pounds in the months leading up to November when they actually hibernate. So Katmai National Park in Alaska has announced the brackets for this year's Fat Bear competition. And according to its press release, this is all a quote. This is a long one. Where the beefiest Bruins flaunt their fluff, vying for glory as if they were the wobbliest blue ribbon winning Jell-O mold at a Midwest state fair.
Wow.
I got the visual. Did you?
I sure
It's
did.
like totally was
very
working
clear.
for me. Here's a few of our favorite rookies entering the peak of plumpy pageantry, if you will.
Wow.
Number 602, nicknamed Flo-Tato. And he reminds visitors of a Homer Simpson kind of fella relaxing in the pool when he lounges by the river. Number 909 is the daughter of 2018 champion Beadnose. Observers say she's looking stronger than ever and bigger than ever. And Fat Bear Week is a single elimination tournament starting with today's first round. Voting starts at noon. If you want to choose your favorites, did you have a favorite in there?
There's so much that we could say right now.
I mean, how do you win? How do you lose?
That's why the voting.
It's a bracket. It's like the Sweet 16.
What do you win?
It starts at noon. They just win the glory of being this year's Fat Bear. So they've changed that. They've rolled up now. I don't know the exact times, but it was noon or 9 a.m. Pacific, and you can vote for your favorite at explore.org.
Well, thank you. I know I'm casting my vote.
I'm just going to keep quiet.
Okay. No, I love it.
Just keep it moving.
Sam, great job. Nice bracket.
Hey, Troy Johnson is here. Deals and steals and some of Lara's fabulous finds. So come on back.
Really good stuff.
Good morning, America. It's 8 a.m. President Trump on the world stage set to address the United Nations while holding meetings on the wars in Ukraine and Gaza. Secretary of State Marco Rubio joins us live.
Former Vice President Kamala Harris is live in studio on her new book, 107 Days. This morning, why she really thinks she lost the presidential election, what Joe Biden said to her moment before her debate with President Trump that left her, quote, angry and disappointed, and if she'll run again in 2028.
And we're swimming with the sharks this week. Mr. Wonderful himself, Kevin O'Leary, is here, answering your questions and telling us what happened behind the scenes when Michael dove into the tank. As we say, good morning, America.
Live from ABC News headquarters in New York City, it's Tuesday. Good morning, America.
Looking forward to catching up with Mr. Wonderful, and we'll see if you are wonderful in the tank yourself, Michael.
More wonderful than Mr. Wonderful, I can tell you that.
Okay. Down
there
right
he
there.
is right
Okay.
there. Yeah, that other shark. He is really good, though. He's really great on the show. I had a great time. It was a lot of fun. Got to stick around and see what actually happened.
That is coming up. First, look at the top stories breaking today. We're going to start with President Trump returning to the United Nations today for the first time since his re-election. He's also going to meet with President Zelensky of Ukraine. So I want to bring in his Secretary of State right now, Marco Rubio. Mr. Secretary, thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
I want to start out with that meeting with President Zelensky of Ukraine. It's been more than a month since President Trump met with President Putin in Alaska. Since then, Putin has intensified his attacks on Ukraine. He's crossed into NATO airspace as well. The president has repeatedly threatened to take action, but repeatedly backed off those threats against President Putin. How much more time is he going to give him?
Well, I think he has taken action. So, for example, we've imposed additional tariffs on India, and they're a very close partner of ours, and we had meetings with them again yesterday, and it has to do with their purchase of Russian oil. In addition, we've worked very hard on and continue to work and made a lot of progress. Well, you look at the bill that Congress was considering, and on putting forward the Lindsey Graham bill. That bill was about tariffs on India and China for the purchase of oil and gas from Russia. I think the president has also called on Europe to step up to the plate. And, there are countries in Europe that are still buying massive amounts of natural gas and oil from Russia, in essence, directly fueling the war effort. The president has also instructed us, and we've made a lot of progress working on security guarantees. Shortly after the Alaska meeting, all of these leaders from Europe came to Washington. We agreed to work on security guarantees for the future of Ukraine after the end of this conflict. We've made a tremendous amount of progress in creating the outlines for that, and that's going to be essential in any negotiated end to the war.
It doesn't appear to be making any difference with President Putin.
Well, I think that's right, in the sense that we continue to see the war being carried out, by the way, by both sides. The Ukrainians, to their credit, have also inflicted substantial damage on the Russians. So as an example, 20% of Russian refining capacity has been taken offline because of Ukrainian strikes. And I think the Ukrainians have been very brave and worked and done incredible things despite being a smaller country here, not just in defending their country, but in imposing costs on Russians. Look, at the end of the day, the only leader in the world that everyone agrees to this, no one did, and this is why Zelensky keeps wanting to meet with him, and all the European leaders want to meet with him, is President Trump. He's the only one that can talk to both sides and try to make progress. He has dedicated a lot of time and energy to it. We hope to achieve it. He has expressed his deep disappointment at the direction this continues to go. He is well aware at this point of what our options are under his current authorities to impose more costs on Russia if they don't agree to peace. And that moment may arrive, but I hope it doesn't arrive, because I hope we still have time to convince them to end this war. The impact it's having, it's a stupid war. It really is. I mean, the Russians in July lost 20,000 soldiers were killed in action. 20,000, way out of ratio with what Ukraine has lost, and a staggering number. This war needs to end. The president can do everything he can to end it, but at some point he'll have to take action if it doesn't.
You and others in the administration have said several times that no one has died because of the administration's cuts to humanitarian aid and the shuttering the Agency for International Development. A host of international aid organizations have disputed that. They've detailed how many lives have been lost. Also, Nick Kristof of the New York Times had an extensive piece in the New York Times on Sunday, firsthand reporting on the deaths being caused by the cuts in aid. And he went on to say this. I want to show a tweet he put up. He said, "I also obtained an internal Trump administration memo stating that the cost of shutting down USAID is $6.4 billion over 2 years. That sum could save more than 1 million children's lives. Instead, it is being spent to shut down programs that saves lives." How do you account for that? How do you respond?
Well, that wasn't a memo. That was somebody who wrote an email giving their opinion internally. That is not an official document. That's someone who didn't agree with our decision. This is not about cutting aid. We're going to do aid.
It does cost money to shut down AID, doesn't it? That's a fact.
No, we didn't shut it down. We moved, well, a couple things. We shut down AID because it was a dysfunctional organization. We moved it under the State Department. Number two, we are going to do more foreign aid than any country in the world. We're going to do more than anyone in the world, again, this year. But we're going to do it the right way. We're going to do it holistically. We're going to do it as part of an integrated foreign policy. We are not going to fund an NGO industrial complex that built itself up, that was taking a substantial percentage of the money and not going directly to the recipients. It was going to these organizations that had multi-billion-dollar projects and budgets. We're not going to continue to do it that way. We are going to provide aid. We're providing aid now. We just rolled out our new initiative on health. It's going to be much more successful and much more effective. We're going to enter into direct compacts with the countries. We're going to empower our embassies and our ambassadors to direct which projects we fund and how much money countries are going to be receiving. So we are restructuring the way we do aid. It's going to be far more effective, and it's going to be integrated into our holistic foreign policy.
That's all in the future. But are you standing by that comment? You're saying that no one
has
died?
No, it's happening now. That's not in the future.
No one has died
now.
because of the aid cuts? Are all those aid organizations lying?
That's ridiculous. Well, first of all, then they died because England didn't give enough money, or Canada didn't give more, or China did. Let's blame the other countries that don't do any foreign aid. How about China? I mean, China's the second largest economy in the world. They don't give money to these projects.
So you're no longer disputing that the aid cuts have cost people's
money?
lives. You're no longer disputing that.
It didn't. I think anybody who tells you that somehow it's the United States, if we cut $1, somehow we're responsible for some horrific thing that's going on in the world is just not true. Beyond that, I would say that in some of these places
that
they cite,
not going
the reason why the aid didn't get there,
someone's going to die,
one of the reasons why some of these places didn't get the aid is not because we cut the aid. It's because there's a war going on and the aid never got to the people. So in Sudan, for example, it's not just a humanitarian catastrophe, it's a war zone. Okay, the aid is stolen, the aid is impeded. In fact, they use aid as a tool against the people, and so blocking aid as a tool and an arm of war. So in some of these places, the reason why the aid isn't getting there is it can't be distributed. Look at Haiti. One of the reasons why aid can't be distributed in Haiti is you can send all the aid in the world you want. It gets hijacked and stolen by criminal gangs that control the country. And so they're the ones to blame for whatever happening there, not us who provided more aid than anybody else.
Let me just try
Haiti,
one more
in
time.
Africa,
Are you standing
and
by
virtually
the
every part of the world?
Are you standing by your contention that
no one has died because the United States has cut aid? No. People have died because gangs steal the aid. People have died because the distributors of aid have not done well. People have died because other countries haven't stepped up. But the United States has saved more lives and continues to save more lives than any other country in the world. And we're going to continue to do it, but we're going to do it the right way and in a responsible way. We're not going to continue to pour billions of dollars out the door of American taxpayer funds for programs that don't work and in some cases were flat out corrupt.
Mr. Secretary, thanks for your time this morning. Michael?
All right, thank you, George. Coming up in our GMA Morning Menu, former Vice President Kamala Harris is here talking about her new book, 107 Days, about her campaign for president.
Also ahead, Kevin O'Leary is here to tell us about the new season of Shark Tank and answer your questions.
And Top Chef All-Stars champion Melissa King is here. She's showing us how to cook like a king. Blair and Sam with Tori Johnson.
We sure are. Sam, we're just looking at cocktail napkins and lots of other fabulous things.
Well, I think you're really going to like this setup on the deals because it's...
Because these are a lot of my favorite fabulous finds, my personal faves. Thank you, from bedding to cocktail napkins and so much more, all more than 50% off. Did I mention cowboy boots? Right. They're fabulous, right? I like the big olive.
Welcome back, everybody. We're joined now by former Vice President Kamala Harris, who has a new book out called 107 Days. That's a nearly day-by-day account of her run for president and a 2024 campaign. Vice President Harris, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Michael. It's good to be with you.
Great to be with you. And we're just going to dive right into it because everyone seems to have their own theory. Mm-hmm. But why do you feel or believe that you lost the 2024 presidential election?
Well, I talk about a lot of the factors that I think contributed to the outcome, but the reason I wrote the book is, Michael, it really was an unprecedented election. You think about it, a sitting vice president running for re-election, 3.5 months before the election decides not to run. The sitting vice president then takes up the mantle, running against a former president of the United States who had been running for 10 years with 107 days to go. It's unprecedented. It was the closest presidential election in the 21st century. And as history writes about that election, I felt very strongly that I wanted to make sure my voice was present in how that election is discussed and covered. It's part of American history, and I wanted to make sure my voice would be a part of that.
So did you believe 107 days was enough? Did you wish of course you wish you had more time, but do you think it was enough? And if not, do you think that any other Democrat could have pulled it off in 107 days?
It was not enough. I can't predict the outcome. Mm-hmm. We have lots of stars in our party. I'm sure that there are many people who would have done a great job. I can't predict what the outcome would have been.
Well, how do you, there were some Democrats who said that you don't take enough responsibility for the loss. How do you respond to that?
As I say many times in different ways in the book, the buck stopped with me, and I'm clear about that. And there were so many factors. You know, one of the aspects of those 107 days that I think is important to remember as we go forward is that we have an individual in the White House, the President Trump, who in running for re-election made a lot of promises to the American people that he did not keep. I talk extensively about the fact he said that his main reason for running, and on day one, he was going to bring down prices. And I do believe a lot of people voted for him with that priority in mind. And look at where we are today. Inflation is up. The cost of food is up. Unemployment is up. He did not keep that promise to the American people. And we also need to remember those 107 days around some other stuff that he said. Mass deportations. That he would weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies, that he would silence critics. And he has done that consistently. Mass deportations, you know, somebody told me recently a story about a fellow they were talking with who was a big supporter of President Trump when he was running. He's a Floridian, he's Cuban descent, and he shared the story of how his life partner, his wife, is now in deportation proceedings to be sent to Sudan. And when asked, what happened? Why did you have so much support for him? He said, well, I believed what he said, that he was going to only go after criminals. So part of the reason that I have written this book is for us to remember that there is somebody in the White House right now that made a whole lot of promises that were either about what would aggrandize and help him met out his vengeance, or about lies he told to the American people that he obviously never intended to keep.
And let's talk about somebody who was in the White House with you, President Biden. President Biden said he believed that he insists that he would have won the race. So when you hear him say that, how does that make you feel?
I think that the reality of it is that, for me, I'm not going to predict what didn't happen. The reality is, and listen, I talk about how difficult January 6th was for me, of 2024, not to mention 2020, when I fulfilled my constitutional duty and responsibility as Vice President of the United States and President of the United States Senate to stand there as the former Democratic nominee for president and certify the election. Because I believe very strongly that in spite of all the other nonsense that might be coming out of my former opponent, I was not about to degrade the role of Vice President of the United States around acknowledging a free and fair election and the peaceful transfer of power, which is part of the hallmark of who we have presented ourselves to be as the United States of America.
Well, you said in the book that that's the hardest thing that you had to do.
It's one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, Michael.
But there are so many people out there who felt that President Biden shouldn't have run for re-election. And you wrote in the book that it was, quote, Joe and Jill's decision, that other Democrats decided it was Joe and Jill's decision. Well, do you regret not voicing your opinion in that moment?
Yes, and I actually have reflected on that, and I've written about that. I realized.
Would it have mattered if you did?
I don't know. But I can only take responsibility for myself. And on reflection, and I talk about it in the context of asking a question of myself: was that grace to not bring it up to him, or was it reckless? And on my part, I do reflect on that and feel that there was a recklessness about not raising it with him. I talk about what was going through my head, right? And what was going through my head to not bring it up was that it would come off as being very self-serving and therefore maybe lack the credibility that it deserved. But I do think about it. And I also say, though, and I speak extensively about this, my concern about him running for re-election was completely separate from my admiration and knowledge about his capacity to serve as President of the United States, which was consistent and never wavered.
Well, when we sit here, as we sit here today, do you think he would have been up for running the country for 4 more years?
Here's the distinction that I make. And having had the experience myself, it is one thing to have the capacity to govern. It is another thing to go through an election for President of the United States. So you are an athlete, you may appreciate this kind of metaphor. Running for President of the United States is like being in a marathon at a sprinter's pace with people throwing tomatoes at you every step you take. It is not for the lighthearted. It takes an incredible amount of endurance and stamina. And can you imagine doing it while you are also carrying literally the weight of the world as being President of the United States? So the distinction I make is about capacity to be president and what that election would require in that campaign, especially running against Donald Trump.
Yeah, and running against Trump, you had the big debate that we all watched. And you said leading up to that debate, you got a call the day of, and the call from President Biden left you angry and disappointed. What did he say to you?
So he he called me, and again, listen, this book, I am being candid in this book about behind the scenes what happened. And in a way that I hope is helpful for people to understand what that all was. And part of that call that he made to me the afternoon before the debate was to wish me luck, but also to talk about something that was more in his interest than it was in mine, especially in the context of that time. But let me also say this, that a large part of why this book has been written and why I wrote it is I really want to remind the American people, and there are so many stories I tell about in those 107 days being with tens of thousands of people, Michael, people who seemingly have nothing in common, who had enthusiasm and optimism and hope about the future of our country. And I talk about it now and always. We're living in very dark times. These are troubling times. And I hope and I pray that when people read this book, they will remember the light that they had that cannot be diminished by the outcome of one election or the existence of one individual. That light exists in all of us, and we have to see it in each other and let that propel us through these dark days.
And we see your passion for politics. We see your passion for the country. You ruled out that you run for governor, California.
Correct. That's correct.
Are you ruling out a run, or are you ruling out a run for president in 2028?
I'm not focused on that right now. I'm really not. I'm really excited about my book tour.
Well,
I'm excited about being out and listening to folks. I think it's important to listen, and elevate people's voices. There's such, when I'm out and about, I can't tell you the number of people that come up to me crying.
Well, do you think that writing this book could have burned some bridges, though, that could help you politically?
No, and that's not my intention, and I hope not. If you're talking about the chatter about who I talk about, we have nothing but stars as far as I'm concerned in the party. And I talk glowingly about who they are and what they are contributing. And frankly, I think that part of the problem that we have right now in terms of the punditry is to suggest that we are waiting for a Messiah and the Savior and the saving message, instead of seeing that we actually have a lot of stars who are doing very good work, pushing back, but also talking about what we stand for. And I think it's time that we also recognize that that is counterproductive, to keep saying who is the one, instead of seeing in front of us how rich we are in terms of talent. And let's support that.
All right, they'll support that. We'll see if people will be supporting you if you announce you're going to run in 2028.
Oh my goodness! I just buy the book. Just buy the book.
Buy the book. All right. Well, former Vice President Kamala Harris, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. And yes, go out and buy the book. It is a great read. 107 Days is available now.
And coming up on Good Morning America, Shark Tank star Kevin O'Leary is with us to talk about the brand new season, about how Michael did, and much more coming up on Good Morning America.
Did we put him in a Shark Tank? Is that actually a Shark Tank behind?
That is, he is.
Welcome back to GMA, live from New York City.
Oh, what a beautiful morning. Fall is upon us. Here at GMA, we're swimming with the sharks this week, starting with Mr. Wonderful Kevin O'Leary, right before the premiere. Season 17.
Amazing. I had hair when we started.
Come on.
A long time ago. But we're so proud of what we've created all around the world. We support the American dream, entrepreneurship. I feel like I'm an ambassador of the American dream everywhere I go. I think we're on in 54 countries now.
That's wonderful.
Who knew this would happen?
And who knew this man over here would be in the tank with you? Was he more? Was he laid back? Was he Mr. Wonderful?
I did a double take. I looked to my right. I said, no way. That's the GMA guy. And I said to him right away, I'm going to crush you like a cockroach. Watch this happen. But that's not what occurred. This guy was pretty good.
Thank you. I appreciate that compliment.
Yeah, yeah.
It was a lot of fun. And I wasn't afraid of you crushing me, because we know how that would end. Not well for you. But we're going to talk about this new season, man. Because I know from being on the show that the entrepreneurs, they come in and they spill their hearts out. But you could be so surprised with who was there to pitch. Pete Davidson.
Yeah.
He came on and pitched the product.
Yeah. Well, usually guest sharks take a while to get acclimated. That wasn't your problem. I think you've been on TV before somehow.
A few times.
So I think it really worked out well. I'd like to see it come back. I thought it was fantastic television. And great entrepreneurs. It was great. I mean, you know.
When you have a celebrity like Pete Davidson come on and give a pitch, does that like give it a little extra to make you even more intrigued by it or not?
In the end, it's about the product and the entrepreneur. I mean, remember, we've seen thousands of pitches. And so after all these years, there's a certain aura around a winner. Because this is very high risk. I mean, venture capital, only 2 out of 10 deals work. And you're trying to glean any sign from that person that they have what it takes to go the distance. And that's really hard. And for me, what's amazing, after 17 years, the majority of my wins have come from companies run by women. So that old adage, you want something done, give it to a busy mother, it's about juggling so many things at once in an uncertain time and world. Women are pretty good at it, and I made a lot of money with them, so I'm kind of sticking with it.
So what's it like being Gwyneth Paltrow's husband?
Oh, you're talking about Marty Supreme. Yeah. Well, guess what? I met her on Shark Tank. She was a guest shark too. She's an entrepreneur with her own company. And then 2 years later, we're on a movie set together, and it was kind of an interesting reunion. Because, you know, in this movie, this is a very unusual movie. I personally think, and this is just my estimation, having, you know, done my scenes in this, Timothée Chalamet is going to he's going to get an Oscar for this one.
Really? Wow.
This is set in 1952. It's The Sting. Remember The Sting, how you couldn't stop watching it with Robert Redford? This kid is the new Robert Redford.
He's amazing.
That's
he is
saying
amazing.
a lot.
Yeah.
He is.
He was great.
Yeah, and also amazing people who watch Shark Tank. And so we are doing Ask a Shark Week, and we're going right to the viewers.
Sure.
Can we get to that?
Absolutely, let's do it.
This one's from Patrick.
Hi, Mr. Wonderful. My name's Patrick, and my question is, what is one mistake in a pitch that instantly signals no deal, even if the numbers look good?
That's a good question.
That's a great question. Here's the answer. In a modern day where social media is so important to big and small businesses together, do they know their customer acquisition cost, called CAC, customer acquisition cost, CAC? And secondly, do they know their return on ad spend, ROAS? These two numbers determine the success or failure of a business within 36 months. Because you can acquire customers profitably right out of the gate. The investor just pours gasoline on the fire in the terms of capital, and you grow. Most entrepreneurs that are not hip to social media fail because they can't acquire customers. The whole world's changed. Social media is how communities are built around products and stories. And so if you're not a good storyteller and you don't understand the different platforms or how to work on TikTok versus Instagram, I'm sorry, we're not going to invest in you.
All right, good advice right there. And here's another question from Ava.
Hi, Kevin. My question for you is, are interest rates going to drop any lower? And if so, at what number is it worth it to refinance a home?
I didn't hear the first part of it. What did she say?
She's saying interest rates are going to drop lower.
Oh, yeah. No, unfortunately. Mortgage rates, even though the Fed dropped 25 basis points, which is 1/4%, people are anticipating a big drop in mortgage rates. Nothing happened because the 10-year didn't budge. And so, you know, the thing about fixed income and mortgages is they're kind of priced off 5 to 10-year Treasury bills, which didn't move because there's a lot of concern about inflation, about debt, other things which have nothing to do with housing. We are never going to see 3.5% mortgage rates again, ever, in our lifetimes. But by the way, for 50 years, our parents and generations before us lived with 7 to 8% mortgage. So get over it, everybody. America still works with a 7% mortgage. Just buy a smaller house, chop chop.
You heard it from Mr. Wonderful himself. And you can see, thank you, Kevin. Thank you for being here. You can see the season premiere of Shark Tank tomorrow. It's a new day and time, Wednesday, 10 Eastern, right here on ABC. Tori Johnson.
All right, this is a very special Deals and Steals. Tori is here with big savings, and these are all my fab finds. These are things that you've shown that I have fallen in love with.
That are in your house.
Right here.
Yes,
I ordered many pairs of these from you.
So what I love about these is that it's cordless, meaning that you can put light anywhere, indoors or outdoors, and you don't need an electrical outlet.
Right.
It's literally just you tap to turn on and off. There's
so
also
great
a
for
dimmer.
outdoor dinner parties.
So nice, but also next to a couch if if you don't have an outlet, but you need a little reading
I have
light.
that too.
All 50% off and free
Highly
shipping.
recommend, everyone.
All right, the French Farm.
You know I love a shopping trip to Paris, and she brought it to you.
That's right. So these are gorgeous steak knives and flatware. We've got a big variety of sets. So not only do they elevate any table, but then they also have super easy storage.
Yep.
They're completely organized.
Really
so
beautiful. They're heavy in your hand.
They feel really good. They perform even better, and they're all 50% off.
Yes,
we
they
love
are.
that.
Then these are so chic and a great gift. They're like the prettiest little
Embroidered
cocktail napkins. That are embroidered. They have different sets. They have a vegetable set. They've got a pasta set. They have a cocktail set that has a giant. I love this giant olive.
The olives are really fun. This turns, I think, a cocktail into a conversation because they look so great.
They're chic.
They're also really fabulous. Gift alert, I would say.
Yep.
And we've got from Pieceworks their puzzles as well. They come with also a playlist to kind of set the mood as you do these gorgeous puzzles. Everything from Pieceworks, 50% off. These
Thank
are
you, Tori.
fabulous.
Another,
Okay.
I don't leave home without this.
Yes, this is Nori. So what we love about this is you don't need the ironing board. That's a 3-in-1. You can steam, press, and iron all in one.
They're
and then
so
it
good, you
comes
guys.
with also the trim. And what I love about this
This is the
specifically
sweater shaver.
Yes, so this allows you to revitalize your wardrobe so that it feels like new, which
You know
is
those
very
balls that get on your sweater?
the pills, those
Yep.
little pills. So it makes all of your clothing look like new. All 50% off for the sets today. Okay. Then
so
I
chic.
love these jewelry boxes from Brooke. So you can put your initials on them, that's optional. But then all of these are really smart with the compartments. I know in your dressing room I see a variety of these,
Yes.
but you also, these are for gifting that are really fabulous. So depending on how much jewelry you have or how you like your organization, different size, different option, perfect for you. These are up to 60% off. They start at $18.
Another great gift idea.
Okay, then
obsessed with Cozy Earth.
We love Cozy Earth. We've got a big assortment, so that's a brand new robe.
I noticed.
We also have the towels, the wraps, the hair towels, unbelievably absorbent,
Really
which is, I
good.
think, the number one thing that you told me that you like. They're absorbent,
they have
but
to do
look
the job,
luxe.
but feel good.
And then what I love about the bedding is that you can make your bedroom look like the most luxurious
Hotel
five-star hotel. Yes. So we've got the cuddle blankets, we've got the bamboo viscose sheets in every color. We have
And
a
the
big
sheets
stack
stay
of colors.
cool, everyone.
Right? Yeah, they stay cool,
Very
which
important.
we like. I'm not allowed to say us mature women like that. You told me to say sophisticated.
For us
Sophisticated women
sophisticated
like that.
ladies.
All 50% off
Yes.
plus free shipping
Absolutely.
from Cozy Earth. All
And
right,
we have more
coming
coming
up.
out?
We have coming up.
Hold on,
Do you want
I'm
to just do a
modeling
model
really
of
quick.
what's
Am I
coming
allowed
up?
to come out?
Yeah.
I'm modeling 2 things that are coming up, so you will want to stay tuned. Thank you very much. Are we not doing? We're saving them, right? We're saving this for next time.
I don't know. I thought we're saving them, but we don't have to save them. You want to do them?
We're doing them.
Durango boots.
All right, here
Look
they
at the
are.
boots.
I guess we are doing them.
Here they are.
Oh,
Where's
no,
our-
we're not.
Oh,
We're
we're
saving
not.
them.
Sorry.
Saving
Sorry.
them for later. It's a tease. Teasing, we're throwing to Samuel J. Go, Sammy.
All righty. I listen, I can't wait to see the boots. So guys, let's take a turn to something that's a little important, I think, for everybody. Life insurance is something that we overlook and sometimes don't even think about, but it can be one of the most important tools for protecting the people that you love and those who depend on you. So September is National Life Insurance Awareness Month, so we wanted to talk about this. And this segment is sponsored by our friends at Amica Insurance. Now, joining us now to talk about why it's so important in our lives is Amica's Senior Assistant Vice President, Vinny Fiorino. Vinny, first of all, welcome.
Thank
it's
you.
very
Thank
nice
you so
to
much
meet
for
you.
having me.
I met you in the commercial break a little bit,
Yes.
but Vinny, I hear that to start this off, you actually have a personal connection and a story that you want to share about thinking about life insurance and why it's so important.
I do, absolutely. Thank you. So I lost my wife at a very young age to breast cancer. She was diagnosed at age 29 while she was 3 months pregnant with our daughter, Alessandra. Definitely made me realize that I had missed all the opportunities to get individual life insurance on her. So with upcoming understanding that my daughter was going to have to live without her mom and all the emotional pain that went with that, now I had to worry about our financial situation as well.
And those are things that you don't want to do at that time, so you can kind of prevent that by thinking about it ahead of time. So why is life insurance so important? And as a matter of fact, after your situation and involvement in life experience, you call it essential.
Absolutely essential. So according to LIMRA, 40% of adult Americans feel that they wouldn't be financially secure or barely financially secure if their primary breadwinner passed away. And nearly half of them believe that within 6 months, they won't be able to pay for general living expenses. And that's just not okay.
All right, so it's important to think about that timeline. When's the best time for someone to think about insurance? Because you don't want to wait till you need it, or do you?
So ideally, you want to get it when you're young and healthy. That's the best time, but certainly when there's different life events. So as you build up a dependence on someone, a financial dependence, so at marriage, home purchase, and certainly when you're going to have a child, those are the times that you really need to think strongly about adding life insurance.
And about the coverage, what should we be considering when we're talking about coverage? I mean, in a movie you might hear about the, several $1 million policy, but what should we be thinking about?
So there's really no one size fits all to that answer. It really depends on your financial situation and what you're trying to protect. So it depends on your salary, it depends on your debt. You might have home that you want to cover, child expenses. But we have an online tool on our website that can certainly help you to determine what's right for you.
All right, that would be helpful. Now, also, I might have an accountant and I might have a lawyer for problems that are coming, but who's going to guide me through an insurance conversation?
So at Amica Insurance, we have empathetic and knowledgeable representatives that will help you through it. We understand how important it is that we're going to be there for your loved ones when you can't be. And it's very important to also understand how affordable life insurance really is. Okay. For less than a cup of coffee a week, you can purchase life insurance and protect your family. And I think it's difficult to hear me say to buy life insurance at the times in your life when you're most strained. But what you have to understand is if you feel like you can't afford life insurance, your family really can't afford you not to have life insurance.
Wow. And because of the story that you shared with us, I certainly understand your perspective on it, and thanks for sharing it. So you can scan the QR code to learn more about coverage options and working with a representative, life insurance representative. Hey, Ginger, what's going on?
Hey, Sam. I'm here with Top Chef All-Star champ, chef and author, cook like a king, Melissa King. We're so happy you've got a vegetarian pasta dish.
I do.
That would be a hit in my house.
It's a good one. It's really simple to make. It's simple to make. It's a shiso pea pappardelle. You can use fresh pasta, you can use dried.
Yum.
And I like to use frozen peas. That's kind of my little hack here because they are so sweet and just like at the peak of season when they freeze them. And
so that's what you top it with.
You just top it with some peas. We put some burrata right on top of there. Little lemon zest.
Makes all the difference.
And the shiso, this is a Japanese, kind of like a Japanese mint. I don't know if you've had that before. But if you don't have mint, you can certainly make this with regular mint. And yeah, top that off with some black pepper.
Who doesn't love that?
And that's simple to do, really quick.
And then I know on
quick and
GMA3
easy.
you are going to be making more, and we'll get to all of that. So
Yeah.
I cannot wait to eat a little bit. We're going to get into the potato here. Ooh.
So Lara and Tori have had me wearing boots all morning. I think we're doing more deals with boots. That's all coming up next. All right.
We are back now with Tori Johnson and Deals and Steals on some of my fab finds. We are so excited.
Starting with
to
what's
talk
nice
about
boots.
you guys.
Nice boots.
Thank you.
So Durango, whether you are,
Wait, I'm in-
well,
you
we
can't
said
really
it,
see
right?
mine. They're
Ranching, roping, riding.
What'd you say? Wasn't there romping?
Romping.
Or just romping around.
Look, I used to wear them in the
Ranching,
club
riding,
back in the
roping,
day.
or romping around. There you go. Do it. Let's see. Let's see some moves.
Well, first of all, they're super comfortable.
That's the thing.
And I grew up in
they're great.
Kentucky. I grew up in boots, and anybody knows that when you break in your boots, you can run a marathon in them. You can wear them all day, do anything in them.
And so for more than, it's about like a half a century, they have been developing
I'm a huge fan of these.
They are phenomenal. They
I'm
are
also a very big fan of the shorties for the
genuine
ladies.
leather.
This weekend at Vanderbilt, I wore these for 14 hours.
Super comfortable.
Yep.
I saw you got a lot of compliments on those. You guys will too. 50% off plus free shipping on a big assortment.
I like the boots.
Men,
I love
women,
the
and
teal,
kids.
too.
Guys,
Okay.
I love this company so
Yes.
much. Anybody who knows me knows I have a problem with misplacing my phone.
Yes, we
That
do.
all
No,
changed when
really?
I discovered this company. It's called
Crisscross.
Crisscross.
It's so fun.
They're lightweight. They're super cute. I have it in gold. I have this one. I love this green. It looks like malachite, but it's so light. They've got
They're
rope.
all amazing. The rope, the faux leather, the chain.
Oh, that is
and what's
light.
amazing is that they all come with this little teeny adapter.
Yep.
So all you need is your own phone and phone case.
Yep,
and
I've got my
fits.
case on, and then you put that little adapter inside.
Oh, and look how
it.
secure it is.
And
Exactly.
it's so
It goes
secure.
right
They
inside.
have wrist bracelets as well. I am like a giant fan of these.
I know.
It's changed my life.
And you were also talking about how you change it depending on the outfit that you're wearing, but these are phenomenal. They're also really well priced, so chic, but also functional.
And I love the little pouch, that you can add. You put your lipstick and your credit card in there, and you're ready to go.
It's a good one. Let's
All right, let's go.
Yeah,
let's romp on over.
All right, Coolie Bar, sun protective clothing.
You know I'm into this.
I feel like you first got into this with the gloves and sleeves.
I'm always playing tennis, and I'm very worried about brown spots.
Yes.
And I started with the gloves, and now I am fully covered with the sleeves, and I
I've seen you in the neck gaiters.
We have the gators.
Yeah, that's really
I
good.
don't care what any of you say, it's brilliant.
It's so smart because protect yourself, but you'll look fashionable too. So we've got lots of tennis options, golf options for men, but then the everyday accessories, no matter what you're doing. A lot of people wear them just driving.
Cover your hands.
Even when you're in the car because the sun beats down.
My girlfriend's now wearing driving gloves.
All slashed in half, starts at $8.
Thank you for bringing
all right,
those.
let's add a little more sun protection right here with peepers.
Here, we got these for you.
We've got a nice assortment of course they're gonna work. A nice assortment of peepers. We've got blue light blockers, readers, sunglasses,
Ooh, very nice.
Those look good on you
You are
guys.
like Michael Strahan. You can wear any eyewear and look good.
You're not too shabby yourself.
All right, all 50% off from Peepers. These start at $12.50. Then we've got phenomenal jewelry here from Sterling Forever. You're all decked out. You've got the earrings. I've got 3 layering chains. I also have these stacking rings that are so popular.
Great. They're very
popular.
popular.
I learned this stack from you. 14, 16, 18, and you get that really great layered look. But the earrings are phenomenal too. Everything from Sterling Forever slashed up to 66% and free shipping. I know, Sam, you love a little bling.
I love a little bling.
And I love to give my toes a little of their own space.
So that separation will protect from smudges from a pedicure, but also after a long day of walking in uncomfortable
Just
shoes.
feels good to spread them out.
Yeah.
50% off.
Everything's 50% off. Thank you to all of these companies. Please check out our website, goodmorningamerica.com, gmadeals.com, and that little QR code. Tori, thank you.
Thank you.
Some fab finds for you all. Enjoy.
Come on, Michael, come on.
I told you, he's a supermodel.
And it works on
Thank you, Tori, for the fab finds. We love you.
Have a great day, everybody.